The BS bite the market, beat the market last week. It was a very deep 1.17% on the all-share index. So we finished the equities on the negative side. Bills and bonds were looking for direction. Investors were a little bit lounging around the yield curve on Monday when we finished off. Everyone trying to hurry up and get set for the long public holiday. As far as the NSE over-the-counter unlisted securities market were concerned, it was a little bit lackluster. That USI is still looking for direction after it fell below the 700 reading. Let's get a more sense of all of this as we cross over to our studios, live to our studios at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. My colleague and a member of the team, Temple Asaju, is sitting in there to bring us up to speed. You've seen the, good morning, Temple, I'm sure you've seen the doors of the stock exchange reopen for business today. The market's week is already shut by 2 days, so we'll have to make do with the balance of today and tomorrow. Bring us up to speed. How did we finish off on Monday in more details across the markets?
Thank you, Bosin, and it's good to have you join us live at the Nigerian Stock Exchange again. But then, how did we really finish off on Monday before we went for the Sallah break? Yes, like you alluded to, the state of the all-share index was down by 1.71%, bringing down the all-share index to the 34,000 psychological line versus what we had seen on the preceding trading session, where all-share index rose back to 35,000 as a result of the increase in Dangote Cement. Now we saw a serious profit taking on that stock again, Dangote Cement, and it ended up impacting on the index, bringing it back to that 34,000 psychological line. And on that note, we ended up having the market capitalization at 12.90 trillion naira. How did we get there? It was as a result of the losses that we had on the banking names, talking about Access Bank, talking about GT Bank, as well as Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank was down basically after investors exchanged trading over 36.66 million units of shares there. UBA lost the most by exchange of trades and 42.7 million units of shares there, as well as Access Bank. And that brought down the banking sector by 2.65%, which was the highest that we had in terms of sectoral indices analysis. If we go to the industrial goods sector, that was also down by 2.36%. Consumer goods was down 1.37% as a result of losses in Nigerian breweries and, of course, Unilever. But in terms of dividends now, which is a very useful information for investors in the market, you've got Zenith Bank changing the payment date for its interim dividend as a result of the public holiday. Now you're going to be paid on the 29th of August. That's something you should watch out for. Now, on Monday, we also know that Union Homes REITs now being Real Estate Investment Trust Scheme, Union Homes had declared a dividend of 75 kobo for investors. So that's another corporate benefit track of information for you that investors will really need to watch out for. You have also what has been happening in the stock market recently, as well, of course, as well as the debt market, reflecting in the recent capital importation report, where we know that portfolio investors saw portfolio investments this time declined by 9.76%, and that's as a result of the flights that offshore investors have continued to take. So it means that they've been taking flights since the second quarter of this year. This leads us to the energy markets, where we saw movements in only 3 of the energy stocks that we have on our radar. We have Forte Oil that declined by 0.65% to 23 naira per share after investors exchanged trading on 427,425 units of shares there. 11 PLC remained static at 180 naira. Meanwhile, MRS was unchanged at 28 naira 55 kobo. Talking about O&O, one of the major active stocks on the market, was down 3.06% after 1.06 million of shares were traded on that, and that brought down the price to 4 naira 75 kobo. You look at Seplat, it's unchanged. You can look at Total, it's still unchanged, despite just 5,472 units of shares traded on the platform of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The price is still at 183 naira. That takes us to Eternal Oil, which has been moving for some time until Monday, when we saw a flat movement, saw it closing flat at 6 naira 30 kobo. You have Japol down 7.14% for this trading session that preceded the public holiday. Now let's move on to the NASD OTC, representing the unquoted securities tradable on the that platform, the Nigerian capital market. Yes, Bosin, you said earlier that it's down below the 700 psychological line in terms of the USI, the unlisted securities index. As of Monday, it was at 692.55 points after the market's capitalization was lowered to 468.67 billion naira. In terms of the volume of what was traded, we had 2.51 there. Then the value was just 25.73 million naira. We continue to see bargain hunting there on that side of the market. Let's look at the fixed income markets, representing the debt market of the Nigerian capital markets, where in terms of bonds now, on Monday, it closed flat, relatively flat from when you compare that to the opening levels. Your yields weren't really moving that much. We had minimal trading on bonds after investors went for selective buying interest on major maturities that had yields offered at 14.9%, and yields on all tenors basically moved. But in terms of the selective buying interest that investors had, we had February 28th, which is now represented on screen there, by 23rd of February, specifically 2028, closing at 95 naira 60 kobo, and that had just 21 deals. It was one of the three securities that investors went for. You had June 2019 and October 2019 securities as part of the ones that saw decline. These were the major securities that investors had selective buying interest on. When you look at the total number of deals at the secondary market, it was 78, with a total value of just 18.61%. For the treasury bills market, there was no different. Average yields, lowered by 3 basis points, and we had sentiments across the maturities traded in T-bills, two-way quotes, basically having no more. Back to you now, Bosun.
Yes, Temple. Thank you very much. That table you just showed there shows a bit of a bit of a contraction in treasury bills yield for those two treasuries maturing towards the end of this month. Of course, today. Thank you, Temple, live from the Stock Exchange, and of course from our Stock Exchange studios